Oh yeah? Summer is here. Meteorological summer, that is. But summer hasn't come quietly, as we've got days of severe storms that could bring flooding to parts of the country. How long is this stupid wildfire smoke gonna last? Along with how hot temperatures are gonna get. Got all that and more in your forecast starting now. Texas looks like it's baking. All right, so this radar image was taken on Weatherfront, and this was from yesterday near Fort Worth, Texas, where a destructive hailstorm hit the town of Weatherford. And it's just this time of year down there in Texas where you can expect massive car-crushing hail. And unfortunately, yesterday night was no different. All right, so looking at visible satellite, you're going to notice two things right off the bat. Check out this swirl in the clouds here in Arizona and New Mexico. That is a low pressure system that is spinning right through there. And then we've also got this secondary area of clouds that's a weaker low, but also trying to spin up in the Dakotas. As we go through today and tomorrow, those two are going to merge, and that's what's going to give us our severe weather, especially today, going through Tuesday, possibly even into Wednesday. The other thing to look at right now, too, is the wildfire smoke continues to pour across Canada. I know this doesn't really do it justice, but if you're in Ohio, if you're in Illinois, if you're in Indiana, Michigan, even down into the deep south in places like Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi, you can see a haze in the sky. And that, my friends, is wildfire smoke. You might even smell it too. That was a little smoky. And Florida is getting in on that shower and storm action. If you're waking up in Florida this morning, especially southern Florida, you are waking up to a noisy start as we've got a stalled boundary down there, warm, moist coming up from the south, cool air coming from the north, cool air coming down from the north. Where those two meet, that's where you got your storms. All right, first we're going to start with the wildfire smoke. Then I'm going to explain the weather for the next day or two with the severe weather as well. And then I'm going to show you what the rest of the week will look like. So this map shows us the wildfire smoke. Anything in yellow and purple and orange, that is big time wildfire smoke. We've got two major areas of it right now in the Midwest and the Southeast. As we go throughout Monday into Tuesday, notice how this starts to bowl its way into the Ohio Valley and into the Northeast. This is Tuesday morning. We're going to wake up with big time wildfire smoke, especially in Michigan near the Great Lakes. You're probably going to be able to smell it. And then going into Tuesday, we've got a second round that pushes through. And luckily, though, the winds shift out of the east, so that should push the smoke through Canada and stop filtering that into the United States. But the Northeast is going to get the leftovers of this Tuesday into Wednesday, so expect milky skies to stick around for this part of the country Monday, Tuesday, even through Wednesday. And what that'll do is that'll actually cause temperatures to be about a couple of degrees lower than forecasted than they originally were. So if your high was supposed to be 80, expect maybe more like 75 to 76 as that smoke really blocks some of the sun. I just want it to be warm in Ohio. So let me show you what today and tomorrow are going to be like weather-wise, and then we're going to get into severe weather chances as well. So this is the Euro model, and this shows us the beginning of the period. Notice we've got two areas of rain. Those are our two low-pressure areas, and those will combine today. Look, right there, there is your signal for severe storms firing this evening, and that's where we have this slight risk in place. Check it out. That goes from the Dakotas all the way down through Nebraska and Kansas, even into Texas. And that's why we've got kind of this big area, because we've got two different systems that are going to merge and combine. And both of those systems will be able to create enough lift, give that atmosphere enough of a kick to bring some severe weather for today. Now, will there be enough spin in the atmosphere for tornadoes? Probably not. We do have this 2% in Nebraska. Once again, there's just not a lot of wind shear. There's not a lot of turning with the winds with heights. So a lot of these storms today will be more on the linear side, less on the supercell side. And if we take a look at the future radar here, this is the HRRR model. And that is exactly what happens. Watch at about 7 p.m. See, we've got storms starting to pop down here. We've got storms already going on in the Texas Panhandle. Those are going to be your two different areas of storm clusters today. And as we go into the night, watch how this line of storms forms up here in Nebraska. This is when we could have an isolated tornado from about 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central tonight, but those storms will quickly form into a mega line and push off to the east. And the greatest threat tonight's going to be wind and maybe some hail. And Oklahoma could get in on the action in the early morning hours as that line of storms rumbles off to the east. Everybody do the Tangy Rumble. Everybody do the Tangy Rumble. Tangy Rumble. I don't even know where in my brain that came from. Move on. All right, we're bringing the forecast back on track here. So we looked at Monday. Now let's look at Tuesday. As we go through the night, we've got some showers and storms continue to push their way off to the east. Those are going to dissipate in the early morning hours on Tuesday, though. And then Tuesday afternoon and evening, they're going to reinvigorate right along this boundary, right along this cold front from Wisconsin through Iowa into Kansas, even down into Oklahoma. And that's going to be where we've got our severe weather expected during the day and evening on Tuesday. Here's what the Storm Protection Center is calling for right now. They've got a slight risk. That's a 2 out of 5 risk. And it goes from Wisconsin, once again, all the way through Missouri, Kansas, into Oklahoma, even into parts of Texas. And just like Monday, Tuesday is going to be kind of like a repeat day where tornadoes aren't going to be the main threat. There will be a chance for some tornadoes. So you're saying there's a chance. And I think Tuesday has a little bit better of a chance than Monday. But having said that, the conditions will be more right for strong winds and hail, less right for tornadoes. But regardless, we've got this area that goes from Wisconsin all the way through Oklahoma. That's that 2% risk to see a tornado within 25 miles of any point within that green area. And really the only other trouble spot for today and tomorrow, storm-wise, is going to be down here in Florida. Notice how we've got days of rain. We've got storms ongoing there now. We're going to see several rounds of storms over the next couple of days as we've got this boundary. Once again, it's a stationary front, cold on the north side, warmer on the south side. Those two air masses clash and create days of rain, storms, some of which could be strong to severe. Not really expecting a tornado threat. Could get some winds and a lot of lightning is likely. Lightning like this? I can't tell you how long it's been since I've seen lightning in Ohio. I just want to see something like this, please. Also, I took this picture, by the way. I'm not a good photographer, but this is my crown jewel. And pretty much everywhere else, outside of those areas that I highlighted for severe weather in Florida, the rest of the United States is going to be dry. The western United States should be dry and cloud-free. Our western brethren, your weather's stuck on repeat. And the Northeast finally dries out the next couple of days. But once again, that wildfire smoke is going to ruin all that beautiful sunshine. And then our Southeast friends also will dry out as well. Now, Wednesday also could support some severe weather, although I'm going to be honest, guys, the risk kind of seems meh. Of course, once the risk includes Ohio Valley, we're only in a marginal. Fantastic. So if this does uptrend, I will be the first to let you know. But today, right now, it doesn't look all that impressive. Now, for our Northern Lights lovers, I know we talked about possibly seeing the Northern Lights last night, but unfortunately, it looks like only people saw it at very high latitudes, and that's because that CME, that coronal mass injection, all that radiation from the sun that interacts with our atmosphere and creates the Northern Lights, arrived about 8 hours too early. So it looks like the rest of us just gonna have to wait till next time. All right, so after today and tomorrow with some of that severe weather, what can we expect? What's our pattern gonna be like? Well, for the next couple of days, we're going to be pretty zonal. That's generally like an west to east type flow. And we are going to have a little bit of a jet streak feature. It kind of sits there for a couple of days. And that's going to create all of that rainfall that we talked about, those days and days of storms that move across the same areas. That's the reason for it. Once again, this is the higher levels of the atmosphere. This is way up in the sky, like super high. And that feature, although we don't have any like deep troughs that move through, this will be just enough lift to get multiple rounds of storms Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's exactly what the Euro model shows. Notice how we've got a lot of green that just sits over this area for Wednesday, Thursday, even into Friday. And that's why we're expecting inches of rain to fall. Look at this. This is how much rain is going to fall over the next week. And the big winner by far, once again, is from Kansas through Missouri, through the Midwest, Wisconsin, Iowa, even into Illinois, as our summer storms will just be pumping over the same areas again and again and again and again and again and again. And Florida, too. You're accustomed to seeing this kind of rain. Very stormy pattern is going to set up all week. All right, so hurricane season has officially begun. It started June 1st. Today's June 2nd, so this is the second day, and you've probably seen posts from crazy people like this, where he's calling for the first hurricane of the season to slam into the Gulf Coast. Guys, I can promise you it's not going to happen. This is complete clickbait. This into thin air guy, he's a nut job. Because normally I have a good kick out of conspiracy theories, but this guy is insane. And let me show you what he's seeing. So he's taking one model. This is the GFS model, which has been consistently printing out a hurricane somewhere along the Gulf Coast. Now it's been all over the place in terms of strength. This run shows it hitting Louisiana and Texas, but the GFS is known to do this, guys. Beyond 5 or 6 days, it oftentimes prints out these fantasy, crazy systems that never end up becoming a reality. All the X's you see on this map, so like here, like here, like here, all of those are all false positives from the GFS. Wow, there's a lot of them. So the GFS calls for hurricane, then it ends up not actually happening. Look how many X's are. The GFS is just terrible for the long range for hurricanes. All that means is do not trust it. And notice how when I switch to the Euro, it has nothing there. So other models aren't showing it. The GFS is one of the only ones showing it. I'm not saying Florida won't get something or the Gulf Coast won't get something. There is the chance for it to get some sort of system, but a major hurricane is probably not going to happen. If that changes, I'll be the first to tell you here on YouTube. All right, so let's take a look at temperatures, and things are starting off on a cool note here in Ohio. So with those two low pressure systems that are going to merge, they're going to bring up a lot of warm, moist air from the Gulf, and that's going to filter in the eastern half of the United States. And that's why our temperatures for this week are going to get way up there, especially in the Midwest. Although there's going to be a cold front crashing down with this system. Notice how Iowa is right on that gradient. That's actually when our severe weather is going to roll through there. But for everyone east of this line on Monday and Tuesday, your weather is going to be warm and beautiful, once again, with a little bit of milky skies with that wildfire smoke. And as we go into Wednesday and Thursday, look how strong that cold front just slams its way off to the east. But the northeast, southeast should be very warm. Those cold temperatures do eventually make their way across the country by Thursday into Friday. But by the time we hit Saturday, look at this. This is our high temperatures on Saturday. Wow, look at that front right there. You can very clearly see it. But even to the north of that front, we're still talking about temperatures in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'll take it. With meteorological summer beginning, this is what I like to see. Yes. Lastly, guys, it seems like people in Florida are going crazy because they're seeing a mysterious red ball in the sky. Guys, that's just the sun, okay? It's what happens when wildfire smoke in the atmosphere, and you got the sun shining through, it looks like a red ball like that. And I got news for you, it kind of is a red ball. And he knows this too. He's just uploading this for clicks. Although this might be an alien right there. All right, guys, that's all I got for us today. Thanks for joining me here. Look for our podcast this Thursday. We're gonna be live at 9 Eastern. And also there is some potential I might go live tonight, tomorrow night, and Wednesday night, depending on how the storms go. We're gonna be starting a new show called The Outbreak Aftermath, where we bring on chasers like Jordan, Corey, Connor Croft, and more. Look out for that. That's all I got. Find someone, tell them you love them, tell them you care about them today. This is Stormcat 5, and I'll see you on the next one.